where is the line between accepting laziness and going, okay, don't worry, you've got your ADHD, just get it to me when you can, because we need deadlines at the same time. So like, I know I've gone on a few little tangents there, but like, do you think, are we more prepared for this now it's becoming more prevalent, or do you think we're more neurotypical than ever?
I think we could be part of the issue of why there might be a rise in diagnosis or self-diagnosis, especially if it is something that starts in early childhood or is more prevalent in early childhood. And in the schools that you mentioned, we're trying to. I mean, let's not forget, right? This is the thing. Just harking back ever so slightly quickly to where you said people use it as a victim label. They look at it like a disease. It's not a disease; it's a disorder. It creates disorder in your life.
So I want to start this episode because I think this is going to be an interesting one, because we spoke about it. It's in like sort of like the end of the last year, so November time. You were diagnosed with ADHD, and I was diagnosed in June last year, so almost a year. So we're both adult diagnosed with ADHD. And when you look at ADHD diagnosis in the last 100 years, they've gone up around about 50 times. Like the stark increase of ADHD diagnosis has gone through the roof. Right. And it feels like I can't go on Instagram anymore without someone saying that I am now diagnosed with ADHD. Like, thank God I've got my ADHD diagnosis. And I appreciate that I'm part of this. But we'll talk about some of the stuff where I think this is something a long time coming, where I think people are jumping on the bandwagon. So I want to open up with this question for you. Do you think ADHD is actually on the rise? Or do you think the world has just got more overwhelming?
It's a tricky one, right? Because you've got to, without doing too much of a diversion, you've got to think of what causes it, right? And we don't necessarily have a conclusive statement is the wrong fucking word. That's the ADHD. But what actually causes it? We can't say this is it. We can't. There's schools that say it's inherited. There's schools that say it's early childhood development or lack of development, those sorts of things. So from that perspective, if it is the lack of childhood development, I would say certainly in younger adults, I'm not surprised if statistics are going up. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a genuine rise, because obviously they've now got, we learnt by doing, and you learnt by putting your hand in the fire and jumping off the school roof and fighting with your mates and whatever, I'm sure schools were way more interactive back in our day than they are now. No offence to any of my friends who are teachers. Correct me if I'm wrong. But now it's screen-based. Now it's all pixels and digital and blue light and very, very, very stimulating. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a way to truly, truly test it, if it has gone up. But at the same time, there's a lot of self-diagnosis going on, right? How many people do we know, have you heard, that will just say, "Oh, it's that's my ADHD," when they've never even done any sort of test whatsoever. And you'll hear this with people with OCD as well. When people want to put things in order, put their books on the table in order, and they go, "Oh, that's my OCD." Robb, no, it fucking ain't OCD. Jesus, it ain't. And you hear PTs do this a lot because they want the weights on the bar a certain way. No, that's not OCD. Come on. If it was OCD, you wouldn't even get into the bar. So I like to think. I don't like to think, because it terrifies me at the same time. I think it's more a rise in self-diagnosis than it is in actual ADHD itself.
I think it's a rise of people trying to oversimplify the world.
Yeah.
Like, they have problems, and we're now less equipped to be able to handle those problems for various reasons. And we are trying to go, it's easier to give us a label. Yeah. It's easier to go, this problem is because of my ADHD. And people become, I think the word victimhood is overused, but I think people do play the victim more. And a diagnosis, whether it's a self-diagnosis or a medical diagnosis, gives you the victim card. Gives you, if I fall short of the mark, this is why. I haven't failed. It's this label. And I don't like that for many reasons. And I think the main reason I don't like that is because, right, so I have ADHD, and we'll go into in a bit. I generally think I do have ADHD. However, and I've been to the doctors and I'm medicated and all this sort of stuff. But I'm not defined by my ADHD. There's a therapist I saw who goes, you don't have ADHD. You are with ADHD. Right. It is not you. It's not part of you. It is something that either I can't beat, it's something I can manage. It's I have to create systems. There are advantages of this thing. And you're right about the labels. And I think and you know, from knowing me and my partner, that the OCD tag irks me so much. Because for those of you who listen to this for the first time and maybe not have spent much time listening to me, that my fiance has, you know, relatively severe OCD. And like, at least with ADHD, because ADHD is one of those almost, in a way, quite frustrating mental health diagnosis, because I don't think very few people probably kill themselves from ADHD, although I think there's probably a link you could potentially make. Yeah. But I think, well, actually, I'm going to come back to that. But OCD is a really, really horrendously hard to manage condition. Like, Ellie will see things on the TV if they mention an illness or they see a plane crash, and they'll be like, that's my fault because of something I did. They're rattled with guilt and anxiety, and they feel that they have control over things that are way out of their control, and they have to do rituals to do things. And people confuse this for, I'm clean, I've got OCD. If OCD, I wish OCD made her fucking clean, because she doesn't put anything in the fucking bin. It's fucking everywhere. But she struggles every day, and I see this firsthand. Yeah. And all you get is, well, I'm OCD because I like the weights on a weight sack. Piss off. You have no idea. No. You have no idea.
This is a problem, right? Like you say, people assume cleanliness or tidiness or some sort of colour, coherent, logical order is OCD. Or not being able to focus on something or being easily distracted is ADHD. Like they link shyness to, oh, I'm an introvert. Mate, we're changing the definitions of these labels. But there are two things you touched on there. Like when you said at the beginning, like, is the world more overwhelming? We kind of know it. Well, there's more access to overwhelm, because overwhelm, you know, that's almost a conscious choice. You're allowing the external world to dictate your emotions and therefore your choices. So 100%. But the thing is, we can kind of deal with that overwhelm by compartmentalizing your life. Not worrying about all these different flipping things. Let's just focus on this. If you've got ADHD, it's difficult to compartmentalize, as you would fucking know. It's a truth.
And do you know what? That's ADHD. This is the reason why I think ADHD is a very frustrating condition, because it's like, it's when you watch pro wrestling, right? They always talk about the characters. They are them dialed up to 11, and it's like the problems that everybody faces dialed up to 11. And I think I'll ask this question at the end of this, but I think one of the problems with ADHD is that people mistake it for laziness.
Yeah.
And we live in a very neurotypical world where people expect you to do things and be able to do things the way everyone else is expected to do things. So what someone will see is, okay, Simon hasn't done this thing and he spent all day sitting on the sofa playing video games. And what they don't see is the thing in my head going, Simon, why can't you just fucking do this? You're a fucking idiot. Why can everyone else get this done? Why are you such a moron? And this rhetoric, and going back to that point earlier on about no one commits suicide from ADHD, I don't think directly they do. But if you've lived in a world where, because everything's linked to a neurotypical world where you're considered lazy or not living up to your potential, or why can't you just do this, or why can't you just remember this? This stuff will weigh you down to the point where your self-confidence becomes so low. And these are things that I battle. I know, like, not keeping in touch with friends, right? I'm the object permanence thing is a big thing for me. So if somebody is not in the room, I forget they exist. Ellie messages her mum all the time. I rarely, I want to. Friends, I barely keep in contact with. So I've essentially became more lonely in a way, probably as a consequence of my ADHD. And clients, touch points, keeping up with clients. Everyone else goes, they can message their clients every day. Whereas I can't. And it's not because of lack of caring. And I get frustrated when it's like, you see people talk, oh, this person doesn't care because they haven't done this. I'm like, well, I'm not saying they may be lazy, but why are we making that assumption? There may be something else going on, and people don't see sort of behind the hood. Like, do you think the world, and you mentioned schools, so let's ask that, schools in particular, do you think they're prepared for ADHD with more things like people, because it's more prevalent, there's more awareness, when our parents were young, it wasn't a thing. Like people had it and like they didn't even look for it. Are we more prepared now because we are looking for it and diagnosing it? Or do we live more than ever in a more neurotypical one-size-fits-all world? Because I'll give you an example. I had some recently. I had a message like, we want for organization in the gyms, like, we need you to do this in advance. We will start calling out people that don't. And I get it. You want to disencourage laziness. And I had it done this week. I was very good. But I sat there and I thought, there's another week I might not do this. And I might get called out. And it has nothing to do with laziness. And I thought, we're in a world which expects everyone to react the same. But where is the line between accepting laziness and going, oh, okay, don't worry, you've got your ADHD, just get it to me when you can, because we need deadlines at the same time. So like, I know I've gone on a few little tangents there, but like, do you think, are we more prepared for this now it's becoming more prevalent, or do you think we're more neurotypical than ever?
I think we could be part of the issue of why there might be a rise in diagnosis or self-diagnosis, especially if it is something that starts in early childhood or is more prevalent in early childhood. And in the schools that you mentioned, we're trying to. I mean, let's not forget, right? This is the thing. Just harking back ever so slightly quickly to where you said people use it as a victim label. They look at it like a disease. It's not a disease; it's a disorder. It creates disorder in your life. And so there you are as a kid in the school system, which is trying to create order and almost to try and push you into a box, right? I don't think I'm not going to, we won't get political. I'm not going to be the person that tells you how to completely overhaul the school system, because it takes way too much. And obviously it takes more than just my fucking idea. But it does try and push everyone into a box, right? And that box is to teach you the curriculum and then get you in a position where you can go into society and work. But we know that's not right for every single person. And people learn very, very differently, way beyond just the 3 methods that are out there. So I don't think we are prepared. I think we then fight against the tide a little bit too much. This kid's lazy. This kid's got ADHD. Let's put him on medication. We're not prepared for it. I think if we were fully prepared, there would be 2 to 3 teachers in the room, personally. And obviously, that's another episode entirely. But I don't think we are.
I think the thing in any school currently, there are 2 teachers co-teaching and a Chinese teacher in the room. And you think, okay, that's good, that's what we want. But there are 50 kids,
right?
And they've jam-packed this school so much that it's not really. It's the same. It's just now one big class. It was like 2 classrooms in one. But I remember looking back at my childhood, and like not necessarily going into at this stage of the stuff I noticed in terms of my ADHD, but what I remember not being very good at English and struggling with this and struggling to focus on English lessons. And the response at schools, and I still think this is a response, is you pull these kids out of class to go for these special English lessons to get them to catch up. And while these kids might need extra attention, and you can't ask the teacher to do it after school, and all the kids to take away their time to do it after school, but also, what are you doing there? You're isolating these children, saying that you are different and you are more stupid than the other people because you just don't get it. And I don't think, if we're saying some of these things start in childhood and not living up to their peers, and saying, is the world more overwhelming? Is there an element of this where kids have grown up feeling they're behind? So they grow up more now with a point to prove and a chip on the shoulder. So now they take more on their plate because they're trying to prove to the world they are worthy because they were taught that they weren't. And I certainly think there's that in me, and for various reasons there's that in me. It's not just this one external class moment where I learned to spell knob and it made me laugh for 20 minutes. But like you have this sort of chip on your shoulder trying to prove something. So, and I know that I will say yes to more things than I can handle.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my ADHD symptoms are worse, which this brings you back to that original question of like, is the world more overwhelming when people are self-diagnosing? Is it just because people are now trying to do 3 jobs and social media, everything, and run a podcast and whatever else you're trying to do, keep a social life, rather than like, for whatever reason, we're in a world now that can do everything. You can be a YouTuber, right? You've seen that thing where they've interviewed Chinese children, they all want to be engineers. They introduce American children, they all want to be influencers. But we can be anything. And while that sounds great, have you heard about the marshmallow experiment?
Yeah.
So like, you give people 2 choices of marshmallows and they're happy with their choice. You give them 20 choices, they're always unhappy with their choice. And now we're in a world where we have so much choice.
Exactly.
So we never commit to anything. So now we're in a constant state of overwhelm. So with the ADHD, or do people need less decisions?
I'm so glad you said that word. If you think back to the episode we did where we spoke about the cult that I've joined.
Are you still in that?
Which is definitely not a cult. Funnily enough, I was rereading the stuff yesterday. So I really want to understand it, right? But the guy who started it all will say it's definitely not a cult. It's certainly not a religion. It's not even a...
I mean, I'm sorry, mate, but that's what they would say.
Of course they would.
Like, if you join Scientology, they're going to tell you it's not a cult.
Say it's not a cult, then they'll get their cock out, and the next thing you know, you're committing suicide in front of a comet. But he always says that this is a tool to help you make better decisions. And that's why I want to understand it, because I know my decision-making capability is potentially flawed in terms of what's best for me as an individual. So that's why I don't make the same choices that most of society does, because certain things don't feel right for me. I don't see the right future for me with the way other people would probably make decisions. And I think that's important. I think everyone has, maybe not on an individual case, you could probably group people into different subsects, but I think everyone has a different way of making decisions that is right for them. We just don't know how, because we're not taught. Because who would do the teaching? Who actually understands it, right? No one, unless you join my cult, in which case we can teach it. But I think that's what it is. Like, what's the first thing that's affected with your ADHD, or even with your Ellie's OCD, or even with introversion and extroversion, and all these different personality traits that we assign to ourselves without ever really looking or going down the research route of properly getting diagnosed or self-diagnosed. We just grab a label because we like to pick one buzzword. All these things do is then affect your ability to make decisions based on the emotion you're going to feel, based on the perceived emotion that you're going to feel, based on what skills you actually have in the tank to act on that decision. How many people say yes to things with no real clue of what to do next, which just leads to more overwhelm and more stress and more chaos. And the worrying thing now is the school system that's fitting everyone into this box, and with how rapidly the ability of AI is going to blindside most people, suddenly a lot of these careers that the school system's building people up to are going to be potentially obsolete, right?
Yeah. And I also think as well, it's like there's an element of how are we going to potentially solve this issue, and obviously trying to make life simpler and make us make less decisions and eliminate decision fatigue is a great thing. But you go back into the school system, and this is where we should be teaching people how to make good decisions, how to filter information. But this is not what we teach people. We're in a world, and again, you can talk about why this is, and you can get conspiratorial about what they're trying to teach people to be compliant, or you can look at, even if it's not, you're looking at teachers that are overwhelmed, underpaid, overworked, and now they have a kid in their class that needs more attention than the rest.
Yeah.
Right? So this is why in America, there's 1 in 7 boys are medicated for ADHD. 1 in 7. And like, it shows that like we're in this part now where schools are medicating people, and threatening to kick kids out of schools. They don't take it. There's no freedom of choice for the parents. So now you have, and we can talk about the morality of that all day, but now we have a bunch of kids who, the first time they had a problem in their life, they medicated it, rather than looking at what was the reason this kid felt overwhelmed. Why can't this kid focus? What do they need to help them? They threw medication at the problem. So what happens when you become an adult and you have a problem? You can't self-medicate yourself all the time. So you now have a bunch of people that can't. So this ADHD feeling gets worse because now, whenever I'm faced with something I can't handle, my instincts are to retreat rather than to power through.
Yeah.
So I think, like, going into your ADHD diagnosis, what made you go and get tested?
So it was my therapist. Just kind of subvertly tricked me into it by doing it over the course of a few weeks. Because obviously I've been seeing her for every fortnight for nearly 3 years. That'll be nearly 3 years, right? So, and for the record, if anyone's worried about that, don't worry, I'm doing all right. I use it like you would use a personal trainer. Like you would see a personal trainer once a week or once a fortnight. I do this for my mental health, for my decision-making ability as well. And to have
more people should.
I think they should. And for me,
and I've started it. I started for the first time in January, and it's been. I wish I could do it more.
People look at it as a potential source of weakness, and I think there's a right and a wrong way to do it. There's a way you do it where you go there and you just talk about the past all the time, and you purposely bring up negative emotions. It's not going to help anyone. It's not going to help anyone. 90% of the reason I still see her every fortnight is because she's one of the many people I need to keep me accountable as well. Because if I don't have that, fucking hell. The next thing I know, I've run away to join the circus or I'm steering a boat, right? That's what's going to happen. So I need people to keep me on track. But yeah, I still see my therapist every fortnight. And there was a phase last year where she was asking me a lot of questions, almost like they came from some sort of test or survey or something like that. And she was like, don't worry about it. And then we'd talk about whatever. And then one day she was like, right, I've got all these things for you. You're going to answer them all honestly without thinking. I'm not going to tell you why because I don't want that to affect the outcome. And like she just went full deep into it, or like all the diagnosis questions. And like I think whatever the areas were, I don't think there was a single area where I scored less than 7 out of 10 or something like that. I think there was one that was really, really low. I forget which one it was. But obviously high in hyperactivity. And that was it. And she said, I don't want this to affect anything you do going forward. I don't want you to be upset about this. I don't want you to wear it as a label, nothing like that. It's just worth knowing because it can explain certain decisions that I've made in the past or why I struggle with certain decisions now. And just that little bit of knowing, little bit of knowledge, awareness, like kind of felt pretty good, right? And because
it's a weight off your shoulders, right? You realise you're not stupid.
Yeah. And I've realised that, okay, well, that's why I do certain things. It's brain chemistry, it's attention, it's focus. But I also think what it really helped me over the biggest thing I've taken away from it over the last few months is I could almost rename it, which I'm not going to do. And I'm reluctant to say these terms because some clown will take it away and this will be a new label. For me, it's more of an inspiration deficit disorder and a creativity deficit, right?
Ooh.
If I'm not inspired, I'm not fucking doing it. If there's no creative element, I'm bored, I'm miserable, and I want out. I'll retreat. I won't push through or add something new to it. I'll do exactly what you said. I'll retreat and I won't do it. How many jobs I've had over the years where I've quit because I weren't creatively fulfilled at all? How many tasks I don't do because there's no inspiration to do them? But they still tick the boxes of the ADHD diagnosis, right? I don't want people to start walking around going, "Oh, it's IDD." Fuck off, you dick.
I mean, I might, but I genuinely love that. I mean, the only reason why I wouldn't use that label is because if I said I have inspiration deficit disorder, like you arrogant piece of shit, right? But it sounds like the cockiest thing in the world. Yeah. But it's so accurate.
Yeah.
It's so accurate. Like, yeah, like I've always found this like if I don't know if you get this, but I certainly am very big on I have times. The one I always use is writing a beginner training program. I've got a new client set up to do. And I've written personal training programs since I was 18. I'm now 32, right? And I I have ran education for global gyms, teaching trainers how to do this. I run a mentorship, teaching trainers how to do this. I could do it with my eyes closed. But then I get a new client program and I sit for 5 hours not knowing where to start. And there's a YouTube channel called How to ADHD, which is really good. If anyone's listening with ADHD, go and follow How to ADHD. She is phenomenal. And she talks about this wall of awful. So you have this wall that you build up. And there's another, actually the best thing she said, and this explains this. It's like, imagine you've got an Indiana Jones Temple of Doom style bridge. And you take some of the wooden slats out of it. So one of these jungle bridges. So it's like, you can see the other side. You know what it is. You know what's there. You know it's safe. And I know I have to walk straight to get there. But I take a few of the slats out and all of a sudden you can't leap over some of the gaps. And that really sums this up for me. And then all of a sudden, sometimes I'll be like at 11 o'clock at night, I'm about to go to bed and I'll hit a hyper focus mode and I'll be working till 4 o'clock in the morning without stopping. But I think that's a mega power though, because it's like when you can harness your ADHD, like if you can find the things you're inspired by and potentially outsource the rest. And I'm going to come to a point, I think about strengths and weaknesses in a second, especially within business for coaches out there. I think you can outwork anybody if you find the right things, and you find the right harness, you find the right inspiration, and you can be creative and you can do more and you can think differently than people. But if you spend a lot of your time doing things that are draining you, because of, I don't think I'm a little bit of the hyperactive side, but not crazy. But my energy will drain quick if it's spent in the wrong direction.
Yeah. And that's important. You know, where are you spending your energy, and how are you recharging as well? Everyone does it differently. This is what the difference between introversion and extroversion is. One, you gain energy from being around people. One, you recharge energy by being more solitary. Obviously, it goes a hell of a lot deeper than that. Of course, it does. But I mean, how about a rebranding for any disorder? Is obviously now everyone's calling it a superpower and whatever. And only within reason, depending how you use it going forward. If you use it as a victim label, no, that's not going to work. Use it as a shield. Well, eventually shields get fucked up by being hit a certain amount of times. You've got to use it
exactly
almost as a weapon in direct focus on what works for you. So for some people, like I said, if I want to rename it to creative deficit disorder, creativity deficit disorder, that's not going to work for everyone who's got ADHD, because not everyone is creatively inspired. And even then, what's creativity? Well, my God, you can go into so many different fucking realms. In terms of the amount of different programs you could write for a broad spectrum of people, that's fucking creativity. For someone else, creativity means, I don't know, jizzing on a fucking plate and sticking it in a fucking art gallery, whatever the fuck. Or for some people, it's writing music, and how many different types of music.
I like. Hold on. You know, like when someone like lists things out and they throw something really wacky in the middle that they really want to do.
But
yeah, just so it's clearly a fantasy of yours, because he goes, yeah, it could be that writing programs, it could be learning how to do dishes, it could be doing an art painting, it could be just on a plate and putting it in an art gallery. It could, but also it could be it could be this. It could be music.
Oh God! And
that's the other thing with ADHD.
Because of the high levels of foolish creative pursuits that I want to pursue, at some point I'm going to do that. It's going to happen. At some point.
Absolutely. You're going to have your hyper focus with it as well. You're going to have like 40 plates. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And this is why ADHD is a weird one, right? Because maybe if anyone out there has a different mental illness I mention here, and it tells me I'm completely wrong, feel free to correct me on this. This is just my very limited understanding. But when you look at some of these very well-known, very well-studied mental disorders, let's say, or anxiety disorders, we kind of know what anxiety is. We kind of know what depression is. Like OCDs we've used quite a lot, right? There are symptoms that go, right, you have this. Right, this is very clear. Because ADHD is such a spectrum-related thing. So I'm like, where is that line between doing that test for your therapist saying, right, that stage goes from the most unfocused, hyperactive human being to the world to the most focused, boring, unhyper person in the world. Everyone falls in that middle.
Yeah.
So at what point do you go from, at what side of the line, you've got two people who are very similar, one has ADHD and one doesn't. And within that ADHD diagnosis, we have people that have problems with attention deficits, which I get the impression is both me and you.
Yeah.
And we get people that have issues with hyperactivity, right? So they are two very different things. Are they the same condition? Or have you just lumped the two together because you didn't know what else to call it?
Well, that's it, right? And again, like the two people on this side of the ADHD spectrum who are diagnosed with it, of which there are multiple different variations, and against two people who have not been diagnosed with it, those two people are still going to make decisions, or should make decisions, very differently to each other. Right? This is the problem with. This is why I'm very, very big on the individual over the group first, because you can't. Because you take a group of 10 people. Even from the same country, even from the same community, there's going to be so many different variations. So many different. So you can't say one thing that is right for everyone. Someone misses out in some way, shape, or form. Almost everything lies on a spectrum, right? Except, no, I'm not going to go. But almost everything lies on a spectrum. So
No. You cannot do that to the audience because we know full well everybody, including me, when you said I can't do that, they want to know except what.
Apparently, according to some Matt Walsh or some participants of Matt Walsh videos, being a woman is a spectrum. Apparently, it's on a spectrum, which I reckon, right? So A, don't want to piss anyone off. B, don't want to go too to the right. But even then, right? So you have to look in terms of depression, in terms of ADHD, in terms of OCD, in terms of anxiety disorder, everything, in terms of transgender. It's things going on in the brain first, right? And we cannot say where any of these things are originating from because there's probably different scenarios, traumas, developmental processes, developmental abilities, who your teacher was, how they taught it, all these different things. How society's teaching that, and this is the problem now. It's, oh my God, like how many people are teaching a kid without you even knowing because they're going on TikTok, they're going on Instagram and watching stuff on the TV. Like way back, there was none of that, really. So now it's the case of, right, everything lies on the spectrum. So we can't use one label for everyone, which is why you can't use one medication for everyone. So, like, just going back to that original statement, how I think we're wildly underprepared because we don't have an understanding. And even then, like, how many people would say it doesn't exist? How many people say it's laziness or just hyperactivity on its own, or it's just kids eating too much sugar? That was a thing. My older brother, where when he was like 6 or 7, they labelled him as diagnosed him as hyperactive, and told him to stay away from sugar. And like now, I look back and go, I did fuck all.
That's what it was. Yeah. I mean, but the spectrum's so interesting, right? Because going back to that Matt Walsh thing, right? Now, people assume if someone people that know me, if you ask me, do you think, I don't want to say gender or sex, but do you think it lies on a spectrum? Yes and no. This is probably everyone's expecting me to immediately say no. Like, of course not. There are two genders. Yeah. And yes, there are two biological sexes. And we are arguing, and without turning this into a transgender topic, we are arguing over semantics, right? We're arguing over labels.
Yeah.
And as we said here, who gives a fuck about a label? You're struggling with stuff, you can overcome stuff. And I'm not saying you can overcome your desire to be the opposite sex, but if you're really, really, really struggling, I have all empathy for you. Like, that must be horrendous to feel not you in your own body. And if you want to go through that procedure to feel comfortable in your own body, then fantastic. I don't necessarily think children should be, but that's another episode for another day. But do I think the feeling of gender, let's say this, is on a spectrum? 1,000,000%. Because if we take the most masculine, like over the top masculine dude you can imagine, let's say it's like a mixture of Thor and Andrew Tate. And then like on the other side, we have Jonathan Van Ness, which is the embodiment of the opposite side that's still technically a bloke. I don't know what he identifies. I don't think he identifies as a bloke. But if you look at this, like in between that, like in some ways I think I'm relatively masculine. I drive to be relatively a leadership. I want to provide for Ellie and look after her. I lift weights to try and look big. I want a beard, even though I'm not very good at growing one, all this sort of stuff. But also, like, in a lot of other ways, I'm not masculine. Like, I'm really not. You know, probably in my emotions and all side of things, probably a little bit more feminine. I'm more agreeable than probably the majority of blokes, right? When we talk about blokes getting pay rise, we talk about with the gender pay gap episode, because blokes are more disagreeable. They ask for stuff and they negotiate. Women don't. Well, I'm way closer to the women's side of this nearly all of my life. So I think it is. I think it's complicated. And that's why I don't think it should be argued with semantics both ways. I don't think people at any point should be saying that, like, when you start arguing that there are more than two biological genders, you're a fucking moron. You've lost my argument. But also, if you're claiming there is just two sexes, end of story, no need for further conversation, you're also missing the boat.
Massively missing it. Because again, like there's the biological male, the biological female, but there's masculine and feminine. Those two things are separate as well. And there are several masculine traits. There are probably more than several masculine traits. I can't name all of them. And there are several feminine traits. And any person can embody any different number of those traits. So, like you say, like you're in terms of the modern misunderstanding of what the word masculinity actually means, because some people think it just means red-blooded male now hits the gym and whatever. And obviously that's not the case. But in terms of the masculine traits you do exhibit, what would you say?
My masculine traits? Chivalry.
Yeah.
Wanting to provide.
Yeah, big provider.
Wanting to be strong. Wanting to be a leader. Probably maybe not the most. I don't want to make it sound like I'm all these positive ones. Wanting shit to be solved. I can't do the argument. Just sleep on it. No, we're solving this now. What do you mean? It's 2:00 in the morning, Simon. I don't care if it's 2:00 in the morning. We are solving this unless it takes us 6.
Like, this is the masculine.
Yes, stamp foot, make fire, eat meat, and solve problem. You know, like.
So let's say let's say that defined you as a person, and you had 0 feminine traits. Okay, well that's you, right? Doesn't mean you're a dick. Doesn't mean you can't operate in society. Doesn't mean you can't be a nice person at the same time, right? And it doesn't mean you can't operate to a high standard. Now let's take a male that we will probably know. I'm not referencing someone we know. I'm saying we would know someone that is way, way more on the feminine side, without necessarily crossing over into let's just take it as a straight male, a straight white male. Let's just fucking do it, right?
Yeah.
There will be straight white men that have a an abundance of feminine traits, but that are a bit more emotional rather than logical. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. Act on their emotions more than they do on logic. It's a different.
And just to interject there with ADHD, how many issues with impulse control?
Yeah.
Like I remember being very, very emotional in a place we used to work. And I'm not necessarily calling out the people that were my managers at this place, but there were times I'd go into an argument. Sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. Doesn't matter. But there were times where I've got in wanting to have this logical argument, say my points, and I didn't get angry. I got emotional, and I made myself look worse. And then that's an ADHD trait. So who says these traits are that fit into this box of this is a masculine, this is a feminine trait? Yeah. These traits come from everywhere. Yeah. These traits come from our upbringing. We want to label everything: masculine, feminine, ADHD, OCD, depression, anxiety, strong, weak. Obviously, that was a little bit more clear cut, but mentally strong, mentally weak. But these traits come from everywhere. I don't think what traits that I have that I consider more feminine are necessarily because of my feminine side. But I don't necessarily think they're my ADHD side. I think they're Simon's personality that's been
Makes
built
you up.
through very, 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 very complex
Yeah,
stuff.
it makes you up. And the problem is, with all these different labels, is did I speak about this with you, or did I speak about this with Harry? But we're suffering from a major lack of. We're suffering from a major global identity crisis. No one actually
Yes.
knows who they are because we are a different person to every single person that we meet. So our personality is different in the minds of everyone else that's currently involved with our lives, and even strangers as well. People you don't even know who know of you.
And going back to what we said earlier on about the overwhelmingness of decisions these days. So we've got a bunch of people that like have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
Now, every single person in history has been completely different to everybody, right? But they probably had 4 people on the street to compare themselves with. And they probably had 1 to 2 options of jobs. They probably did the factory job that their dad did. And they just continued in that path. So they didn't know who they are, but the world carved their path for them.
Yeah.
Now, we can log onto Instagram and compare ourselves to the car garage that Andrew Tate used to have. We can compare ourselves to Brad Pitt's Hollywood life. We can compare ourselves to the Instagram model who's making 17 million on OnlyFans. Or we compare ourselves to the church-loving girl from Alabama. We can compare ourselves to everything. And then we can be anything we put our minds to.
Yeah.
If you're willing to work hard enough.
Yeah.
We can go to any country. All these are great things. But now we have this thing where we mix people. Before, it didn't matter if you didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you are missing out on stuff for not knowing who you are. And you'll always miss out on stuff.
Yeah.
So you always have that thing in the back of your head, did I make the wrong decision?
I think it's interesting that, let's say if we went back maybe 200 years, in terms of comparison, I don't think Keeping Up with the Joneses really existed back then. Certainly not like it.
I reckon it did.
But
I reckon it did. But it's my mate Dave has a boat down the road, so I want a boat. It's not. Oh my god! I know 3,000. I've seen 3,000 people today with a Lamborghini.
But if you think like 200 years ago, where you're getting your information, you get it from history books. You're getting it from previous leaders. You're comparing yourself to people that have come before you, way, way, way before you, that have done great acts. Right? You're probably not comparing yourself to Timmy. Well, maybe Timmy down the street, but maybe not Timmy the opposite end of the country or Timmy on a different continent because you didn't know about him, right?
And that's massively different as well, right? Because let's say, I'll go a bit forward, but let's say if you were comparing yourself, let's say in the 50s and 60s, you're comparing yourself to somebody down the street, right? Now, while someone in the street might be slightly better with money than you, or might have saved up for many, many years to have a boat, anything that he has that you compare and you're jealous of is technically more likely, not necessarily, but more likely to be within your wheelhouse. Sure. Why? Because he lives on your street. So you're going to have, they're all going to be similar earning potential.
Yeah.
Right? Like people in like the mean streets of Harlem, I'm not saying these people are broke. I'm maybe stereotyping there. So apologies for anyone in the mean streets of Harlem that lives there. You're tougher than me. Please don't come after me. But you're not going to be living next to a mansion of Elon Musk.
No.
So now we're not comparing ourselves to people in our demographic. We're competing against every demographic and the ones we admire to the most. And we see those. So as before, where I think Keeping Up with the Joneses existed, but it was a more inspirational thing because like, right, I've got this. Whereas now, we now feel inadequate for feeling like we're the only ones that don't have this. But this isn't true. Our algorithms are filled to make us feel like we are the ones that haven't got this.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's if you look at what we're comparing ourselves to, who we're comparing ourselves to now, half of it is probably exaggerating the lies anyway. It's more material now than anything. Like, how many people will criticize Elon Musk? Well, Elon Musk's a bad example, but I'll use Elon Musk as an example. How many people will criticize Elon Musk for the house that he lives in? I can't really think of him ever flashing any sort of signs of wealth, really. So that's why he's a bad example. But people aren't looking at the bigger picture of what that guy's doing. They're not comparing themselves to him consciously in terms that this guy might have started the actual method that we can get off this planet and potentially become a global species to actually save our species. He's not looking at a way that potentially electric cars could be better for the environment. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. And in terms of, again, some will disagree, some will agree, in terms of actually being able to have conversation and free speech in terms of what he's doing with Twitter. Again, don't come at me. Oh, come at me. I don't give a fuck. But like, no one's comparing themselves there. They would compare themselves to his material wealth. Does he need that much money? Flash house, whatever. And Andrew Tate is an example as well. People are comparing themselves. How many Lambos the geezer's had, geezer's got, or whatever. Is that going to matter in 50 years? Probably not. But will what Elon Musk is doing now matter in 50 years? Probably will. Probably.
I personally think, if you're saying 50 years,
Well, maybe less. Maybe less.
if you said to me 1,000 years, I think Elon Musk is going to have a greater impact on this world.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm going to make a very, very, very controversial opinion that may, and this totally depends on if he's Epstein. I think in 50 years, Andrew Tate will have more of an impact on the world than Elon Musk.
I'm so intrigued and interested to see where this all goes, man. Like, this is my juiciest rabbit hole at the moment. No, that's a lie. That's a dirty wrong lie. But it's one of my top 5 juicy rabbit holes to be down at the moment. I'm down some dark rabbit holes. We've got some good episodes coming up, bruv, let me tell you. But none of which are to do with fat loss and fitness.
No.
Again, it's like, think about the language. Attention deficit disorder. Attention. That's an internal and external factor. And when you look at it from an external point, it's on a spectrum as well. Where is your attention going? What are you consciously putting your attention on? What are you unconsciously putting your attention on?
Where's the noise?
Where's the noise, right? And then there's the internal as well. How much attention are you getting? How many things are you doing for attention? It's just a language, right? It's just a language switch. I'm not saying this is the actual diagnosis of ADHD. But that word has many, many meanings. And how many things might you be doing for validation rather than attention, which influences your decisions? It's all decision making, right?
Which, when you look at people with ADHD, as we said, these people potentially feel massively inadequate.
Yeah.
Because they've been told that they are lazy, or they're hyper, or they're whatever, or can't focus, or lose things. That was always like one of the things I always remember as a kid. When I look back, or when I got my diagnosis, I started doing a lot of soul searching, looking back, like is it like, am I just more overwhelmed? Like, I questioned it, and I look back and immediately I started thinking, like, all my life I lost things.
Yeah.
All my life, and there was some of these things like pieced together, like smart kid. Doesn't live up to his potential, can't focus in class. Like these moments of hyper focus. All these things kind of came together.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at it as well in terms of like I think there's a really interesting point you made there about the energy you're getting. And because I certainly do feel that there's elements of like some things I do that like give energy away or to get validation. But I also think you defined introversion and extroversion. I've got a controversial point on introversion and extroversion in a second, which kind of flows into this. You said extroversion are people that gain energy from people, and introversion are people that energy takes away from people. So if you're spending time with people that are taking energy away from you, in itself, is your ADHD actually just a really shit environment and crap social circle? Because my controversial hot take is I don't think introversion and extroversion exist.
So I
don't think they're things.
I think you're right in that way. I would just playing devil's advocate. I would disagree with you in a way that we've lost complete understanding of what extroversion and introversion is. Complete understanding. If I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Carl Jung coined these terms, or coined the traits underneath these terms. And none of them include like shyness or things like that. It's funny we've got onto this. That was going to be today's video, actually. I was going to film a video on the one label I wish people would drop is introversion. Because you're essentially self-sabotaging yourself, holding yourself back from building a network, potentially building a relationship, from doing things that might really rapidly improve your life, because we are in a social network. It's what the world's becoming, if not already become. And you're stepping away from that from a position of weakness, not from a position of choice that I can do this on my own, or I need to isolate myself a bit more, or I need to be a bit of a lone wolf. The lone wolf fucking dies, right? It's not an alpha thing to be the lone wolf. You're making decisions from a position of weakness. And this is the problem with using the ADHD label as a shield. You then allow yourself to make decisions from a position of weakness rather than a position of strength. And that's when it becomes a superpower, right? When you're actually using it to make decisions that enhance your fucking life. I'll use one example. I know we're going to get onto them anyway, but I'll use one example. I want to be hyper focused. If I want to really knuckle down on this task, two things I do. One, I set a timer. And two, I put my earphones in and I put either binaural beats on or I put some sort of ambient jungle drum and bass that doesn't go too clubby, ravey. It's just constant. And now I've created this environment where my focus is on the screen or the task. There's no change in dynamics coming in through my ears. And if I choose my environment correctly, there should be no change in dynamics coming through my eyes. That's when my focus goes through the roof. But it's fleeting. That's why I set the timer. If I try and go for 8 hours, it ain't going to happen. If I set a timer for 90 minutes, 2 hours, I amaze myself how much I can get fucking done.
But deadlines are huge, right? So I remember in university, like the amount of times I pulled all-nighters, pretty much every single essay. And it's not the case of like I was lazy, I didn't get started. I physically couldn't bring myself to start. Yeah. And all of a sudden, like I'm 3 hours away from the deadline. I'm like, oh my God, I've got a 10,000 word dissertation to write, right? So like, and everyone does this a bit, but I do this, and people with ADHD massively underestimate how long a task can take. So someone, let's say it takes 20 hours to write a 10,000 word dissertation. So person may leave it too late and do it in the last 20 hours, which is stupid, but that's what they'll do. Yeah. An ADHD person in the same mentality, but will do it going, oh, I'll bang it out in 3.
Yeah.
And they are so wrong, but they generally believe they could. This isn't laziness. This is generally like, that's how long it's going to take, and have no idea. And so I think that's when you look at the power of deadlines, it becomes super important to be able to focus on stuff. And I think in the fitness industry, certainly for me, there's like an element of like, this is why I'm very, very good at dieting for photo shoots and not so good at necessarily being good at keeping a reins on it. I never get mega fat, but keeping a reins on it in between, because it's like I have to focus on something without this inherent urgency, without this inherent deadline. Sure. Now everyone's a bit like that, but I'm certainly more like that. And so I think those environments are good. And one of the things I'm excited for about moving back to the UK and betting on myself and working remotely is environment's huge. Like right now, I'm in my office, which is a great step. That's a great start. I can focus more because I'm in my office. But I've got my old microphone here. I've got a lamp that's fucking broken here. I've got bits from Bob when he fell apart here. Bob's my little skeleton for people in audio that don't follow me on Instagram. I've got an old razor here. Like a typical ADHD environment, right? Like things clutter everywhere, right? Yeah. And it's organized clutter as well, right? Because some of the stuff I use and I know where it is. So if you move like my Apple Watch from this random spot on my desk, I will flip out because I have no idea where this is. But also it's not necessarily the most conducive environment to work. Because what I'm going to do is if I get distracted by bits from Bob and this lights and this thing here and this thing here, I'll go, right, cool. So I'm going to sit down and do some work. But yeah, to do some work, then I need to make sure I clean this environment. Oh, and do a video. Okay, to do a video, I need to make sure that my background's clear. Okay, so I need to take that up. Oh, that's dirty, so I need to put the washing on. Yeah. Okay, so I put the washing on. Oh, yeah, cool. So I now put the washing on. I need to check the fridge and see if there's any shopping. Oh, God, I haven't got anything to eat, so I need to go and get something to eat. Oh, cool, but I don't know where my keys are. Okay, well, I'll find my keys first. Oh, but to do that, I should probably make sure that I've got the study done that I need to do. And I'm now 4 hours away from where I wanted to start in the first place. And this is a constant thing with me. And, like, sometimes for people listening to this that have that and go, oh, my God, that's so much like me. Like, you don't want ultimate variety in the place you work, but you want, like, I would say, like 3 to 5 places that you rotate between that you're going to go and do your work in, especially if you're an online coach. So have your own office that you work in, and have a couple of coffee shops you work in, and it could even be 3 spaces within your own house. We don't have the space to do this, but this is something I saw on clip from Chris Williamson. Actually, I don't think it was on his show, but he talks about like he has 4 or 5 places within his house in Austin. So he has like the podcast studio, and he has another office, and he has another thing on the other side. Like when I have a podcast studio, I will have a wall that's for YouTube videos. I'll have a podcast studio, and just changing my seat, and having a different environment and a different backdrop could be enough to get a little bit more out of it.
Mate, it's different environments for different tools, right? So I'm saying that I end up in one room where I try to do my work, and there's way too many distractions, including my guitars. Fucked if they catch my eye and a little tune comes into my brain, my God, that's it. Before I know it, I'm already on it. Doesn't matter, right? But once I get in a position where I can do exactly that, I can set up a little home studio that is in one part of the house, and a workstation that's in another part of the house, and maybe an online creation, whether that's videos for Instagram, for coaching clients, whatever the hell it is, in another part. You create an environment for a specific purpose. And I think this is why a lot of people struggled in lockdown, because suddenly their house became their office and their gym and their family environment. It was fucking terrible idea. And I think that's exactly why people struggle, because now everything was compartmentalized into one environment, and that's not right. We don't thrive like that. So for me, that's exactly it as well, creating different environments. If I really, really want to work, the coffee shop or in my room is perfect, as long as I add those extra bits to the environment of the earphones in, of not facing a certain direction of certain things. But then when I'm really in my creative element, again, slightly different environment. Okay, maybe it's not as optimal as it could be right now where I'm at, but later down the line, the exact, I've got it all listed out because of ADHD. This is what I do. Stay up till 4 a.m. researching how to build the home studio and the exact things I need down to the.
Well, this is what I was going to ask. Like, I certainly have this, but this is the impulse control of the sort of like almost your brain looking for a distraction, right? So I will. What I will do is I'll set up and I'm going to record a video. And I'm already finding many ways to not record a video. I'm still waiting to do that YouTube thing that we talked about in the January episode, right? You beat me to it. And I've put a lot of YouTube videos up, but they're all these, right? And so so I'll have that and I'll get distracted. Let's say I'll scroll Instagram. And let's say I'll see a video from Paul Mort, and he's got his wonderful little studio with the sound tiles. And then I'll see Mind Pump. And then I'll immediately go, right, my studio is too rubbish to do a video. So I spend the next 20 minutes researching stuff to build a studio, realizing that I'm leaving this place in 2 months and I rent this place, so I can't stick anything on the wall. I've got a light. That's all it is. Yeah. So I can't do any of this stuff. So it is a pure waste of my time.
And the overwhelming stress that comes from, I can't do that. At the moment, I would love to be able to record all these different musical ideas I have, these little projects I've got on the go. I'd love to record them all right now. That means having my home studio for that to be a reality, unless I want to fork out even more money, having other people record it for me. So that becomes a source of overwhelm for me, that I'm like, I really want to get this stuff down because that's what I want to listen to, and I want to have it online. I don't care if it ever gets heard by anyone. I just want it out of here and on something.
Yeah.
And when I can't do that, suddenly this creative relief for me becomes a source of stress. What I started doing was using GarageBand on my phone, which is fucking terrible. Never going to fucking release them publicly. But suddenly I've now got this thing where I can go away and listen to the idea and build on the idea. The instant relief I felt when I made a commitment to start doing that more regular, my fucking God. Plus, then I haven't got to worry that certain musical ideas I'll forget. Because as long as I make that intention to grab your phone, record it in GarageBand, now I've got a library of like 200 fucking ideas on there that previously, before I had any way of recording stuff, my God, I'm relying on memory, and how many tunes I've probably forgotten that I've written in my head that are long gone, never to be heard again.
Well, that's such an interesting point, though, right? Because, and I think having some way, and the problem with some people with ADHD is they've probably got many different ways. Like I've got Trello, and I've got various to-do list apps and notes with all these different things. But people underestimate, that time you just feel overwhelmed because you've got load on your plate, and you just feel stressed. For people that don't have ADHD and want to imagine what it's like, imagine that you started tasks and not finished any of them because you got distracted. Because none of them have an urgency deadline for you to actually pull the trigger and finish them. So you end up carrying this massive weight on your shoulders of all these unfinished tasks and all these ideas that you have no idea what would work, what wouldn't, but you all have this intention to do all of them. So one day you're a little bit overwhelmed and you don't do 2 of the 3 of your tasks. And then that powers on to the next day And then now you're at 6 tasks. And then the next day, now you're at 12 tasks. And now you're at 15 tasks. And then you've got 200 tasks above your to-do list that while you've given up on half of them, they're still renting space in the back of your head. And like, and that's why, again, I think having the environment that, like, I'm a very big believer now, especially as a point I was going to make earlier. People say you should work on your weaknesses. Work your weaknesses, making me strength. I tell those people to fuck off. I think this is universally a good idea. Yeah. But if you ADHD, this is very much a good idea. You systemize your weaknesses or outsource your weaknesses if you can afford it, so you can spend more time on your strengths. I have automations for my business. I automate my emails. When I'm back in the UK, I'll automate a lot of my banking stuff. How many things can I take off my plate so my focus can be on the stuff that I'm good at? So now I don't feel like a failure. And now going back to your IDD, your inspiration deficit disorder, I can spend more time on the stuff that inspires me, knowing that all this stuff is being handled. And as you said, I've just got an editor for this show. And while, it's an expense and he's not massively expensive, but like he is an expense, the weight that pulls off my shoulders is unbelievable.
And suddenly you've taken away the things that are causing you stress that you've got no inspiration to do, which are only going to make the ADHD symptoms worse. Suddenly you've now got more room to work on the things that you enjoy working on, which is going to give you more positive impact, which is probably going to, release more of the feel-good brain chemicals, and everything's going to be a bit more balanced. You're going to be a bit more inspired to continue making good decisions around that certain area. And not everyone's in a position to outsource, whether that's financially or socially or whatever the hell it is. But it's one of my favorite things, probably the favorite thing I think Gary Vee has ever said, is he said, double your strengths, double down on your strengths. Like, if it's a weakness, why would you then try to build it up to be more balanced, which means you're taking time away from your strengths, which means your strength becomes a little bit weaker.
And if anyone says that I can't, like you said, no one can afford to outsource. Everyone goes, well, that's fair enough for you to say, Simon, I can't afford to outsource. Yeah. I can't either. Sure. But it's a priority of mine to make sure things are done. But also, two, it's an investment, not an expense. But two, if you generally can't afford to outsource at all, systemize. Yeah. So here's something that I do. I'll give you a couple of things for the coaches listening to this. I look at the results I've had. I find the 70%. What are the common things that I do at what times? Yeah. So here's the times I'm probably going to look at a food adjustment. Here's the time I'm likely to change training. Here's the time that I'm likely to add in this certain supplement. And I write, continue, and I'm adding this. I'm out now about like 40, 50 weeks of pre-written check-ins. Love it. And never go, what are you doing, Simon? That's a really impersonal product. No, it's not. What it means is that all my welcome emails, everything is in a canned response on Gmail. Yeah. So everything, canned response. So I can bring up, someone's got an issue with sleep email up. And then I personalize that email to the person. Yeah. And people go, well, that's not personal because you pre-wrote it. Yes, but imagine this. You've done 8 clients back to back and you're tired and you've now got to write a check-in from scratch. If you're not going to think about that little 5% extra thing that you do that really kind of like takes that result from average to good. Yeah. So if I can write that in and automate that I come in and add the pizzazz. I come in and go, that's not relevant. I delete that and I write something new. But I'm not writing start to finish. Yeah. I systemize my program and I work with templates. What can you do? Doesn't need money, but it definitely needs just that little bit of planning. Yeah.
And that's the key thing as well, is planning. Tough for people with ADHD or of ADHD or whatever, however you want to say it. But it's so important. Planning the night before, planning the morning of, setting some intention so at least you've then got attention on that. And if you leave it up to chance, then you're leaving essentially external stimuli to make decisions for you.
And for online coaches out there, if anyone's read Gary, have you read Gary Keller, The One Thing?
Yeah. Amazing book.
So when we look at The One Thing, I think, and again, this is part of the reason why I think it's almost at the time now to move away from one-to-one coaching and into the online world. And it's not because I don't want to do any work and I want to live on this magical beach that has a great Wi-Fi connection. It's being able to go, right, what is the one thing I'm going to do for the day? And I might get 20 things done for the day, but there is one thing I need to do. Having a themed day. And if you can do, right, today, If you like, when I go and do 4 or 5 sessions, there's now all of a sudden distractions.
Yeah.
So if I can go today, maybe you take a day off. If you're saying, "Oh, I've got ADHD and I struggle to focus on that stuff, and I can't do it on demand," so you take your day and you go, "I'm taking my day off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my onboarding and automate it," and then you could start at 11 a.m., 9 a.m., 2 p.m., 1 a.m.
Yeah.
But as long as you get it done before you go to bed, you've got the whole day. So you can have flexibility around the times where you are functioning best and where you're functioning not. It's like daily undulating periodization for your brain. It's like I can choose the rep range I want to when I want it.
Yes.
And I think that's not everyone can just take days off. But if you're running your own business online, you go, well, I'm not going to do this on check-in day. I've got another day here where it's going to be social media content, and this day is going to be study and program design, and this day is going to be, like whatever, writing my onboarding or in the business stuff, and this day is going to be client calls.
Yeah.
And then right, that's my one task for the day. And if nothing else is done, then I'm done.
Yeah. And it's worth remembering that everyone is going to be different, right? There was this weird. Thank God I don't see it as much anymore. There was this weird little era in the fitness industry where I knew PTs that had gone self-employed that were shitting on anyone that was in a 9-to-5 job. Like, wasting your life. It's not natural. You shouldn't be getting up and getting in a car, work for someone else's dreams, whatever. Some people thrive in that. Some people have much more stability, security, and structure to their life than half of these self-employed people could ever fucking imagine, right? And that's why not every self-employed person lasts either. So you've got to do it what works for you, right? That could be in your 9-to-5. That could be thriving on the gym floor with people because maybe that's where you're in your best. That's how you operate at your best.
I had this conversation last night with a girl who is literally early bird. I haven't even launched my second intake of the mentorship. She's already signed up. And I got a call with her. And she was on a relatively well-known business mentorship. I'll tell you which one when we get off the call. And it's not slamming it, but I just don't want to make it seem like it is. And she felt that she was being pushed into the online world.
Love it.
Because their social proof is, I took this person from $3,000 in person to $5,000 online.
Yeah.
And that was a Steve McGrath post. It wasn't Steve. But they're pushing people to this online world, not thinking, well, this is supposed to be mentoring. Like, if you had a one-to-one personal trainer or even an online coach, you paid a coach and your goal was mobility and they gave you fat loss because they want their before and after photo, you would call them a shit coach. Yeah. Whereas if you want to build revenue one-to-one, but you're now told that, no, you should be doing more online, that's just business mentoring. No. That's fucking stupid because not everyone's business. Some people have brick and mortar businesses. And she was like, well, I didn't think it fitted because I just want to get better results from my clients. And I've got fully booked in person and I like it. Yeah. I used to work in a corporate setting and I don't want to sit behind a desk. I'm like, well, that's admirable. And I disagree with the rhetoric that one-to-one is dead. We've had this conversation in other shows, but I think some people thrive off it. Some people thrive on, and I used to, but I think for me now, certainly with ADHD and all these other things and wanting to launch this more and put more time into it, it now takes away from the stuff that does, give me the inspiration. So I don't have that inspiration deficit.
I think that's the key thing to use an example of how everyone operates differently. Some people, as a client, will thrive from an online approach. Some people won't. Some will thrive from having that one-to-one banter, feedback, boot camp instructor style approach, whatever the hell it is. There's different. That's on a spectrum as well. How you deal with
and it might change.
And that
like at 24, 25, I loved the gym floor. I wouldn't have ever wanted to do online. And now I don't want to do one-to-one really at all. Like so it's life changes, priority change, and the same for clients. Some clients want to do one-to-one now, and later down the line they go, do you know what? I want to be able to train at my own gym, at my own time, and not have to check it, not have to arrange a session with somebody, and that's fine. And I think a lot of coaches, especially ones with ADHD, they get caught up in this. Well, this is what I've always done, so this is what I should do. Yeah, and you shouldn't do anything. Life changes, priorities.
Their priorities change. So I think it makes sense. Trainers of the older kind, let's say 35 and over, life priorities are changing.
Still young.
Maybe you've got kids, maybe you want kids. It's like your priorities are very, very different to a 21 to 25-year-old. So it makes sense that some of you might want to move away from the gym floor and explore this online world because you want to build a family, you want to be less location and time dependent. But at the same time, I know trainers that are older than me that have doubled down on the gym floor and they are fucking loving it because they don't want to sit behind a computer because it reminds them of desk work. They want that one-to-one, they want that personal touch, they want visual feedback right there in front of them. And the problem is now, this online world paints a route for new young guys in the industry who've never spent a day on the gym floor training people. They view that, well, the online is the only route to go. But the online is a way to adapt to society plus to allow for changes in priorities in your life. That's what it allows, really. How many of the American strength coaches I followed when I was first in the industry that I love that are not exclusively online now? They're still in their gyms. I find that admirable. I have so much fucking respect for that.
Would you tell Lucas Sheehan, for sake of argument, right? Would you take him to stop being one-to-one if he was in your mentorship? He's one of the most successful one-to-one coaches I know.
Oh, fuck, Jesus
like
Christ.
you wouldn't.
No.
And and for anyone that doesn't follow Lucas, because we're a shout-out show, follow Lucas Sheehan. And once you've signed up to Fat Loss Fastlane and then you've signed up to Made Coaching and you've gone through those programs, you've got in great shape and you want to do it again, then I'd probably say Lucas Sheehan is the third best guy to go to. All seriousness, absolutely phenomenal coach. But yeah, it's, and I also think now, like with ADHD, there are pros and cons. Everyone depends on what you thrive with, because you can sit there and go, I'm making an argument here for me right now in my current environment that for my ADHD, getting off the gym floor is going to be a better thing. And the reason why is for that my priorities have shifted. I want to put more time into the podcast. I want to put more time into my mentorship. I want to put more time into studying so I can keep my mentorship ahead of the game. I can't do that as well if I'm working with a lot of clients. Yeah. I certainly can't do that as well if I'm working with a lot, not to criticize general population clients. I made a living of getting great results with them. But for every client you get that you probably get 1 to 2 people that may lose a couple of kilos and then just sort of drown out and I'll want to get. If anyone says to you as a personal trainer that every client is going to be a knockout, or it should be, otherwise you're not doing your job, that is wrong. Companies like Ultimate Performance, who are probably bang out more results than anyone else in the world, and believe me, I've seen it from the inside for a lot of years, have a 1 in 4 ratio now where they've got this results per new client allocated. So the best in the world have a 1 in 4. Yeah. So for every 1 client that is ready, 3 clients are not. Yeah. So if you're doing that, for me right now, who wants to launch a mentorship and spend more time studying and applying the stuff that I'm learning at maybe at a deeper level, 3 out of 4 people I'm never going to benefit and learn from.
Yeah.
I love them. Yeah. Like great people, but they've got other priorities in the same way that I do now. Yeah. But my point I'm making is that if you don't have that plan, if you don't have that purpose, if you don't have that thing like, right, I've got that flexibility, but now I know what I'm going to do with those days. I want more time for the podcast. I want more time for this. So I create structure because it's like, right, I haven't got the time for this and I'm now too distracted in the environment I'm in because of this. But for most coaches who don't really know where they're going, they're just getting into the industry and let's say they have ADHD, online isn't the world for you because now you take away any structure that is given to you and now you have to do it on your own. And you have a brain that doesn't want structure, can't respond to structure. So the best thing maybe for you early on in your career, if you want to get results and learn a few skills along the way that may help you when you come off the gym floor, if that's still what you want to do, because it might not be, is probably going to a gym that gives you some clients, that the clients dictate the times, and you'll turn up where you need to be when you're told you need to be there. Yeah. It's much easier for people.
Huge. And it's same in any endeavor, same in any realm. No one gets 100% results in any area. Traders do not win 100%. There's no such thing as a trader that made 100% correct calls. There's no such thing as a sports person that is completely 100%, like not just undefeated, because obviously you can look at the realms of boxing and things like that. But in terms of never made a mistake, never took a bad shot or anything like that, or took a punch, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. Perfect doesn't exist. And the problem is, as soon as you try and create this perfect life or perfect structure or perfect schedule, whether you've got ADHD or not, whether ADHD exists or not, doesn't matter. Your priorities can change at any moment of the day, any day of the week, and so on and so on. So you've got to be flexible. You've got to be adaptable. And I think that's something ADHD people can be as well, but we beat ourselves up over it because sometimes maybe we're too adaptable. We try to take too much on.
Well, exactly, to adapt to the fact that we end up getting nothing done.
Yeah, and yeah.
Like, we don't stick to structure.
No.
We're always adaptable. It's always what we need to do right now, this very minute, rather than what we knew we should have done every week for the last 7 weeks. Like that's essentially the concern.
Yeah.
So before I go into a closing question, I want one more topic to discuss about this. Why aren't you medicated?
Personal preference. I'm not a big fan of medications in any way, shape, or form. Really. And I don't like the idea, which, again, this is a little bit hypocritical because I have previous history with psychedelics. I have previous and current history with nootropics. But I don't like the idea of taking something that could affect how I feel. I have taken, and I probably will take again, I've taken modafinil, and I noticed the hyper-focus that I got with it. But the issue that I had is it got me hyper-focused on anything that I got distracted. That was the downside of taking it. Like, it didn't make me this productivity machine. Fucking hell. Like, there I am writing emails or writing programs or whatever the hell I was doing, or working at Daily Mail at the time. And suddenly the screen next to me is playing a YouTube video of something that is completely unrelated to my work. Fuck me, that rabbit hole got dug deep. That's the problem. So I stopped taking it. But yeah, I don't see necessarily how taking a medication would immediately benefit me, because I don't feel that this is a weakness. If I felt it was severely disrupting and was detrimental to my life, then maybe I'd consider it. Like, I'm not the type of guy, if I get cancer, I'm not going to say no to chemo or anything stupid like that. I'm not like this anti-science, anti-pharma guy or anything like that. But I don't see the need to. No, I've not been convinced of the need to yet. I could be completely wrong. I could take it could completely overhaul all my issues and everything's fixed. But we know that's not going to be the case. We know that's not going to be.
No, never is. It's a mixture. Often it's a mixture of medication and therapy. And like as we said, we had a laugh off air, right? Before we came on, like, my biggest problem with regards to my medications is that I forget to take it in typical ADHD fashion. Oh, the irony. But like, here's a question for you. This is a question that would tell that often is the case with ADHD people that probably would decide if medication might be a benefit to you.
Yeah.
When you've had a coffee, do you feel more hyper or do you feel more relaxed?
It changes. It honestly changes. Like,
what would you say is the majority?
Depends on timing and depends on amount. And depends what mood I'm in before I have it. True. I can sit there and have like I did before this call, I had a relaxing cup of coffee with the sun beaming through the windows, relaxed state, relaxed environment. Fucking beautiful. I don't feel hyper. I don't feel caffeinated. I don't feel like I need to burn anything off. But other times I could have that coffee. Maybe it's a bit close to me having another coffee or a Coke or something like that. Or, in fact, that's bullshit, because I had Cokes just before as well. But I think it's all to do with environment.
For audio listeners, well, actually for visual listeners, well, he means a cola.
Maybe.
Not AIM.
We'll never know.
Yeah, like, we'll never know. Anyway,
but yeah, I think the environment dictates that emotion as well, right?
100%. And I do think that's the thing with caffeine. But on average, people with ADHD tend to feel more relaxed after stimulants. And I certainly do. Like, I remember the first time I took Ritalin. And I didn't have a particularly busy day. And I came home. And it was the first day I'd taken it. So I went to work. I was super focused at work. I felt more present in my sessions. Like, quite often in my sessions, and part of the thing that... And this doesn't combine to the fact that because now I'm coming to the end of it, like, I'm not enthused by it anymore. Yeah. I'm looking at the clock, I'm looking at what's next, I'm on my laptop and go, okay, what do I need to do today? What's the podcast need to do? What questions to do? Oh, okay, do I need to message Rob about this? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking about these things rather than being with the client. And the client wouldn't know this because I'm very good at what I've done for 13 years. I'm an actor on stage and I don't need a script, but I took the Ritalin for the first time and I was so invested in the session.
Really?
And then I came home and I listened to Piers Morgan interview Andrew Tate. I think, no, it wasn't. was Diver CEO with Piers Morgan.
Cool.
And I've never been so focused on a podcast. I didn't pick up my phone. I didn't play any games ever. And normally I relax playing games. So often we'll chat to people like this and people think I'm rude, and it's not. It's like, I want to be able to relax. I want to be able to pay attention to you. And me having something, fidget spinner type thing, I struggle. So it's often my phone, which is a bad habit. But, you know, and so I think if I remember to take it, I think medication can be game changing. But I found with modafinil, like you said, I was focused. I was still relaxed, but I was more focused. But I was focused on anything.
Yeah.
Rather than be able to have a bit more. I think Ritalin, I had more control.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
On what I was focusing.
I guess it's potent as well.
It's also very easy to get here. Like when I went into the second time, I was like, "Hey, so I was chatting to Luke Lehman on a podcast about ADHD, and he was like saying you should try different things. He likes Vyvanse. He was like, okay, cool. I'll give you 1 month of Vyvanse, 1 month of Ritalin, 1 month of Concerta. I'm like, oh, cool. And then he went, what else do you want? I was like,
shit.
I'm like, you got any test prop? You know, like, you know. I'm not. By the way, for anyone, because someone's going to come out and see my photoshoot picture and say gear use, I'm not taking test prop. You would definitely know I'm much more. I'm. Look at this. You can see both my shoulders in the frame of this video.
Mate, there was even these fucking and this stupid Insta post that went viral. There was these dumbass fruitarians calling me a fucking steroid abuser. I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm fucking 80 kilos. Come on, 80 kilos with a gut. What the fuck are you on about? Fuck me. Yeah, I know.
Although I will give you a comment before I get my closing question. When I came home in the summer, by the way, like it's the first time I met you in person. So I speaking to you every single week for over a year. It's the first time I met Paul Standel in person. Both of you were bigger than I expected you to be.
Come on. That's the compliments.
So what I'm saying is you look shit on camera.
I've definitely abused.
No. Definitely more Jacks in person.
Yeah.
Definitely more Jacks.
Must be the beat route.
But well, who knows? I'll find out. I'll probably find out on my stag do next if you've gotten smaller or not. But closing question to bring it back onto the point. If, with what you've learned since, and I know it hasn't been very long, you can give one piece of advice to the just diagnosed Rob, what would it be?
Ooh. Trying to think what I told myself. Because I went down a research rabbit hole on both sides of the spectrum.
Because whilst you're thinking of that on the research rabbit hole, because you were kind of pushed into your diagnosis, was I researched for years and eventually went, and then kept forgetting to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to the doctor when I had a sort of quite a growth thing on my nail. I was like, fucking hell, I bet it's not a mole. You know, I saw Bob Marley died of a mole under his toenail. So I was like, right, okay, let's go. And he was like, no, it's nothing. I was like, well, while I'm here. And then that's the only reason why I remembered to go. But I did a lot of research.
To be fair, you've kind of already said it, right? This doesn't define you. That's the advice. This doesn't define you. This is just a tool in the box. A tool to give you a bit more awareness of how you've been currently making decisions. That within reason you have some power to change that. Within reason. Not complete overhaul. I don't really think there's well, I don't want to say cure as such, because again, it's not a disease, it's a disorder. And it doesn't define you, so therefore, what do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with it? So what it's allowed me to do is to put a bit more focus around, create a bit more awareness around my mindfulness, my meditation, trying to set intentions for how I want to feel for the day, trying to be a bit more aware of my impulsivity and catch myself beforehand. I do not have a 100% success rate there in the slightest. Probably with Easter, just behind us, it was probably like a 30% success rate. Impulsivity went through the fucking roof, right? Damn you, Smarties Easter eggs. But being a pound in Tesco, who does that? That's just stupid. So I would label that as abuse. That's abuse. Tesco put in the tastiest Easter egg at a pound. Horrific. I
mean, mint aero bubbles, but anyway.
Oh, that's a good shout. I haven't had those for years. See, now I'm going to go get them. Now. Yeah, it's. How do you want to use it? How can this help you? What's the benefit from this? Of course.
I think mine is very similar. I think you know my initial thoughts when I wrote this question for you was a little bit like, what were mine? And I was thinking, well, my initial thoughts were like, it's okay. You're not lazy.
Yeah.
You're not forgetful. But I wanted to add to that because I also don't want I don't want to go into my own victim mode. But it's like, but just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like the biggest thing that I've learned from this is like, right, I've not got a handle on it yet. And there'll be days where I have hyperfocus and I'll get loads done and I'll pat myself on the back and feel really proud of myself. And there were days where like I'm told off by the missus because I haven't done the things she has me do 300 times, and I look like I'm being lazy. I'm just sitting playing video games while I'm doing any more work. And I'm like, just keep going. There are days where this will beat you. But there's another day. You keep going because you know full well you'll have 3 days of it beating you, and then you'll get all of those 3 days work done in one day.
Yeah.
So you come out, as long as you keep going, on an even keel.
Yeah.
You just go in bursts and cruises. And I think that's the biggest thing is sort of keep going, don't give up a bit. And then just sort of be mindful of, I'm now starting, and it's only recently with therapy, it's like being mindful of what I say yes to. And this is what kind of spurred on this idea of this conversation for me, because it was like, well, is ADHD actually on the rise, or are we more overwhelming? I think in either way, our world is more overwhelming. Whether you generally have ADHD or whether you don't. And I think for someone who has ADHD, choosing more things, putting more things on your plate, seeking validation is only going to make you more overwhelmed and give you the symptoms. And if you haven't got ADHD, it'll damn sure make you feel like you do.
Yeah.
So my path right now is to eliminate. What can I outsource? What can I afford to outsource? And what can I get rid of? And while some of that stuff I can't get rid of right now, I'm moving back and I'm getting rid of a lot.
Yeah. What can you get rid of? What's an active trigger for you? I don't play video games anymore because I know as soon as I've recently felt the urge to get back on Skyrim. That was one of my favourite games I've ever fucking played because it was perfect for ADHD. It's open world. I could do whatever the fuck I want. There's less stress.
WWE 2K23 is pretty good.
Oh man. So I feel them calling, right? But I know if I go on them now, that'll be detrimental to the pursuits I want to chase at the moment and the opportunities that are coming my way. Because I know that's going to be hours. I know my impulsivity there is weak. Oh, well, it's strong, if anything. Strong impulsivity. I know my control is weak. So, and there'll be the frustrations of, I'll be shit again, so I want to do it again and again and again to get better because I'm inspired by that. At the moment, that has no positive impact, no positive benefit to my life. So I'm not going to allow it in. So I don't allow it in.
When you do, I'll say when you do, if you do, the big bit of advice I would give is only allow yourself to buy sports games.
Yeah.
And only buy one story game a year. And that story game a year only comes when you've achieved a big career goal and you're giving yourself a deliberate
break. That's the way
break.
I look at it, right? That's the way I look at it. I will not probably worry about a console or even a TV screen. I don't have any of this. I don't own any of this stuff until I am in my own place that I'm likely to be for a long while. Maybe bought rather than renting. That's probably my big milestone of, right, I know I've got safety, security, and predictable income that's allowed me to do this. I can probably allow that into my life. But at the moment, that's not. With music, it's different because that creativity is only there for so long. So it's not like I could sit in a recording studio for 20 hours a day. That's not going to happen. Like you're drained within like 3 hours, which is why it's perfect. It's like a perfect amount of time. Yeah. 3 hours in the evening, late afternoon, it's perfect. You're absolutely drained. But obviously, that's not a creative thing. That's just pure stimulation. And they know how to, the industry knows how to keep you hooked into it. I think that's a perfect way of doing it. If you can create that awareness and just have that little bit of control to eliminate that trigger with the view that at some point you will allow it back in. Same with dieting, same process. I think it makes it a little bit easier.
So to change a little bit of the format of the call-off, tell us how the Fat Loss Fast Lane can help people with their mental health and potentially even attention issues? Because I know your fast lane is not just purely a diet program. So tell us about this other side.
If anything, it's slowly moving away from that, right? And that's what I want to do with the YouTube channel, which is why I was so annoyed that I felt the need to do this protein video. Man's done a protein video. God, how boring. I want to talk more about the mindsets and the beliefs that lead to bad habits, bad choices, and bad behaviors that create this negative environment that you get stuck in that leave you to be miserable, depressed, overweight, undersexed, low testosterone, all these things. So that's part of the way it's going to be going forward. Like, how much variation does the general public need on dietary practices? There's probably only 5 real variations anyway. How much variation do people need on training programs? Well, that depends on the goal and the training history. But in terms of the sheer level of overwhelm, distraction that are causing people to make choices around their lifestyle, there's a lot more variation now. I feel there's a lot more importance for people to get a handle on that, and people aren't taught that. Like, okay, the self-help industry is absolutely fucking huge, but how many people is it actually helping? Really? Because it's not really giving people tangible stuff. It's motivational fluff. Whereas what I do with Fastlane is give you some actual tangible fucking... Man, you've got 3 accountability checks a fucking week, technically. And I want to turn that into a daily fucking thing. I want to turn that into daily accountability, which is difficult to do with my ADHD, but I can not outsource it, but I can automate that in a way as well. But as long as I actually show up in the group as well. You know?
I think there as well, when you look at accountability, I learned this from Makash, owner of R&T. He says there's 3 types of accountability. There's coach accountability, self-accountability, and peer accountability. So how can you create a community to create peer accountability? How self-accountability is every time they open a tracker, every time they open MyFitnessPal, every time they snap a food picture, you know, every time they post in your community. So yeah, awesome, man. Absolute pleasure. Generally enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you next week.